This video is about deductive reasoning. We've all probably seen enough Law and Orders to know that deductive reasoning is really just the process of reasoning logically and drawing a conclusion from given facts and statements. In other words, you're presented with facts and statements and then you draw the conclusion. That's deductive reasoning because you have to derive the conclusion from the facts and statements. So there is a law about deductive reasoning called law of detachment, which is given a conditional statement if the hypothesis, which is the statement after the if, right? If the hypothesis is true, then the conclusion is true. So we use these symbols. If P, then Q. P is true, therefore Q is true. And just make a note of here, these three little dots is a symbol for therefore. So if P is true, therefore Q is true. So let's look at some examples here. You use the law of detachment to give a valid conclusion. If not possible, write no valid conclusion. Given if Mark earns, if Mark saves $30, he can buy a new game. Now, here is the P. The red is the P. Mark it out. And then the blue, then he can buy a new video game. That's Q. If P, then Q. Now, do I have P here? This tells me that Mark has already saved $30. Then the conclusion is also true. Mark can buy a video game. So again, recognize the conditional statement. If P, then Q. Then is it given? Is P is true is given? Then you can draw the conclusion Q is true as well. If it's not given, then there's no valid conclusion. So second example, if a quadrilateral is a rhombus, then it's also a parallel. And now what's given is quadrilateral is a rhombus. So it's exactly the P statement. Then the conclusion is quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram. Okay. Number 3, if you are 18 years old, then you can register for a vote. Olivia is not 18 years old. This is not P. This is a negation of P. Therefore, we cannot use law of detachment. So, no valid conclusion. We cannot draw any conclusion. It can lead us to a number of things, right? Let's move this forward a little, upward. Sorry, I messed up on the top. Number 4, if the sum of the measure of two angles is 90 degrees, then they're complementary. So what's given is that angle J is 58 and angle K is 32. And if this one requires me to do a little bit of calculation, I add the two together, I have 2 degrees. So I do have the sum of the measures of two angles is 90 degrees. Then the conclusion is angle J and angle K are complementary angles. Okay. Number 5, if you plan to attend prom, then you must purchase a ticket. Sarah purchases a prom ticket. Okay, notice that this is Q. This is not P. So we cannot use law of detachment to draw any valid conclusions. So the final answer is no valid conclusion. Here's another law, law of syllogism. I like this one a lot. It's a powerful one. Law of syllogism allows you to draw a conclusion from two conditional statements in which the conclusion, remember, of the first statement is the hypothesis of the second statement. So if we use a symbol, we say if P, then Q, if Q, then R. Therefore, the conclusion I draw, because I have something in common here, see that? The conclusion of the first conditional statement is the hypothesis of the second conditional statement. Therefore, if P, then R. Very often, I also think that in the algebra world, this is very much like transfer property, right? If A plus B equals C, and then say D plus B also equals C, therefore my A and D are exactly the same. So it's all connected. So here's an example. If it is Saturday, then Jake has a baseball tournament. Second statement, if Jake has a baseball tournament, then he will need to pack his lunch. Notice that in the first one, I have the conclusion here. Jake has a tournament, and then in the second statement, that's my hypothesis, right? So if P, if I want to label it out, if P, then Q. Here I have Q, and my conclusion is R. Therefore, I can rewrite this conclusion saying that if it is Saturday, if P, this is P, then R, then Jake will have to, or need to, pack a lunch. Pack his lunch. So if P, then Q. If Q, then R. Therefore, if P, then R. Number 7, if a number is divisible by 12, so this is my P. Let's see. So this is my P is here. Then it's divisible by 6. That's my Q. If a number is divisible by 6, that's exactly Q. Then it's divisible by 3. I cannot talk. So this is perfectly lined up. So we can draw the conclusion. Therefore, if a number is divisible by 12, then it is divisible by 3. It's a lot of word. I'm using shorthands here. Okay. Number 8, if a quadrilateral is a square, then it's a rectangle. So if P, then Q. If a quadrilateral is a rectangle, so Q, then R. So same pattern. If a quadrilateral is a square, then that's my P. So my R is, it has 4 right angles. Okay. Number 9, if it is sunny this weekend, then you will go boating. So I have my P here, and then go boating is my Q. If it is sunny this weekend, this is P again, you will wear what's that? Shorts. So this is R. So this statement is if P, then Q. Then if P again, then R. Notice that this is different from the symbolic map atop. This term here has to be Q, but it's not. Therefore, I cannot draw any valid statement. No valid conclusion. Okay. Number 10, I'll move this up a little. If you shop at Target, then you use your Target red card. So I have my P, I have my Q. If you do not use your target red card, then you will not get 5% off. This is what an inverse statement, right? I'm negating both the P and the Q. However, this part, if I get this right, this part I'm highlighting is not the same as this part I'm highlighting in green. It's a negation. Therefore, there is no valid conclusion. It has to match exactly as written above with the symbolic map. If P, then Q, if Q, then R. Therefore, if P, then R. Last one, if it snows, then the school will be canceled. If the school is canceled, notice that conclusion here and hypotheses here are exactly the same. So I do not need to think anymore, simply connect it. If it snows, pick up the last statement, then students will need to make up a day of school. Okay. The next page has some additional practices, but it's exactly the same. Write the symbolic map on top and then just follow it. Make sure that the logic is right. If it's not matching the symbolic map exactly, regardless the English makes sense or not, then you cannot draw any valid conclusions. All right, guys, I'll see you in class. Bye.